since we don't have to worry about copyright laws and stuff like that. Eh?
Okay.
He's turned his back on me.
Sorry. He's writing on the wall.
Yes, amen.
Amen. Amen. So, today we're talking about the way that we are all interconnected and we are one with God, and that we are busy creating a world that works for everyone. And the topic is suggested by Dr. Petra Wells, who is in the Dallas area. And so she's selected some of the readings that we're going to discuss. So Ernest Holmes said, and this is really the topic that we're talking about, that someday we will come to the place that we can not only embrace ourselves, but somehow our arms must find themselves around the shoulders of all humanity. Because we are one, we are it, we're the God. And I speak on that every week. And the truth of the matter is, it seems like such a hard concept to get, that we are all one. There is nothing outside of the unifying force of the divine. And Ernest Holmes says, there is one life, one infinite reality, which seeks self-expression through creation. This self-expression is the very life and self-awareness of the human being, every human being. Every human being is a precious and unique way that the infinite of the one universal spirit is expressed. If one individual were missing, it would be infinity minus one. And that would mean that all of God isn't expressed. So to really get clear on a visceral basis that you are absolutely precious and necessary for the expression of the one whole, the one unifying force. He continues, never think that you can live disconnected from that which is life. If you wish to call this conscious union with life religion, well and good, for it is the essence of every religion. If you wish to call this conscious union with the wholeness of things spirituality, well and good, for it is the very essence of spirituality. He said, we see that the first principle of life is oneness. The first performance of life is multiplying itself without dividing itself. Life must be one, and that one, in order to be expressed, must be many. But the many, in order to exist, must live in the one. So it's thinking the same, that an orange is the godness of it all, and it is all orange. The outside of it, the peel of it, the little white mucusy stuff that I don't know the name of, the sections and the seeds and the inside of it, it's all the same orange. And that's the same with God. It is all the same. God is all that is. We're bound into a supreme unity. We are tied into an immutable law of cause and effect. That is the way unity moves into action. Cause and effect is something that happens as a result of the recognition of unity. Consequently, we are one even while we are many. And since each of us is part of the whole, if we seek to destroy each other, we will only ultimately hurt ourselves. This is the great lesson of life. If we find ourselves positioned against anything, then we are against ourselves. And that's so difficult for us to understand and to get a handle on. The ministerial listserv of CSL is aflame with ideas and thoughts about our gathering, our spiritual gathering that is planned in February to be happening in Nashville, Tennessee. And there's such a furor about about, oh my goodness, we have to cancel because of their positions on LBGT. I have to be careful about those initials. One time I said to this woman, oh, you're LSD. So that was not quite what I had in mind. That's not what I was talking about. But anyway.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah. So the whole Tennessee legislature and going through the governor and blah, 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 blah about needing to attend the restroom of your birth certificate identity.
What the?
Exactly.
Sorry.
They in Tennessee have not experienced me, and I'm telling you, there's no time to search for a birth certificate or a driver's license. I mean, I'm just saying. Good luck with that. So there's this.
LSD?
It might be.
That would answer the question.
That's very funny. We'll talk later. So here's the thing. Am I going to get wrought up about that now? The convention isn't until February. Are we going to sort that out from now till February about whether we're going to have the convention there or whether we're going to make a statement and withdraw? And this is not the time. Do not misunderstand me. I am not suggesting that it's okay to have to show your birth certificate every time you want to go to the restroom. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to be against it creates it. And my position is there's a lot of time for the universe, God's Spirit, the unifying force, to sort that out before February. And it will. It'll happen. And all of this angst and anger coming from religious science ministers who should know better, I just say take a deep breath. Trust what we know. Trust the universe to know that we wrap our arms around everyone, even misguided legislators, even misguided governors, even people living in fear of something they do not understand or do not know. Ernest Holmes said to be for something and against nothing. And that is the essence of our philosophy, and that is the essence of our creativity in the universe. We are not separated from anyone. We do not have to be anxious, angry, spiteful, resistant. It's not necessary. Everything smooths itself out. As long as I stay in alignment with the divine. When I start believing in separation, when I start thinking of them against me or me against them, I'm stepping out of the alignment of spirit, and I'm making a belief in division. That's just uncalled for. In the Holmes Reader's Practical Wisdom, Ernest said, love is a synonym for God, and God is love. God knows us in love. We know God only through love. When we love humanity, we are loving God in and through others. God is in and through all. And we have got to come to the place where we embrace and put our arms around, and we must find ourselves embracing the shoulders of all humanity, no matter how their beliefs may be. And we talk about the political scene and how things are just gone awry and blah, 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 blah. I absolutely know and trust the perfect person is going to be the President of the United States. It is in the mind of God. All of the confluence that is stirred up is coming together to percolate and to cause this country to look at their values and decide what is right and what is wrong for each one of us. And whoever is the successful candidate for the President of the United States will be the perfect candidate for the President of the United States. That does not mean that I'm not going to go vote, but it does mean that I'm not going to deify anyone. And I've been known to joke about that, but it is only a joke. I truly trust that God is at work. And we're taking a look at who we are as a country, what we believe in, and it's only healthy. It's a good thing. And trusting that God knows. For more than 2,000 years ago, or rather 2,000 years ago, Plato described the universe as one whole of wholes and a single living creature which encompasses all of the living creatures that are within us. 2,000 years ago, Plato knew this truth. And it's come and gone in our consciousness and our awareness. And when as a culture, when as humanity, we forget that there is only one, and God is the consciousness of the whole, when we get into trouble. We have wars, we have abuses, we lose our values, and we lose our connection with the truth of who we are. So I feel there's a shift in the general consciousness that brings us and is calling us back culturally to the truth that we are all one. And you see it on the internet all of the time. Now I fully realize that my internet is probably different than everybody else's internet. No, I'm serious, because they send me stuff that they know I'll be enjoying or I'll be watching, and I don't think that mine is the same as yours, because the internet pre-selects me, and it pre-selects every one of us. You can search for things outside of your regular span of intelligence. It's called what, a logarithm? Is that what they call that? An algorithm, thank you, yeah. So go outside of your usual search and see what comes up in your computer, if you are so inclined. So our arms must find themselves around the shoulders of all humanity. And so what does that mean? What can we do to make sure that our personal arms are around all of humanity? I saw a story this week on my particular internet news about a fellow named Chris Rosati of Durham, North Carolina. Chris Rosati is challenged with the disease of ASL.
ALS.
Thank you. Lou Gehrig's disease.
There you go.
Thank
That
you.
works.
So, we live in alphabet soup that confuses me a lot. Anyway, so Chris is turning within himself, and in preparation for succumbing to the challenges of ASL,
ALS.
ALS,
Lou Gehrig's disease.
Lou Gehrig's disease,
That's it.
has committed himself to the butterfly effect. And so he has decided to encourage young people to make a difference in this world. And one of the ways that he has done that is to give young people $50 and tells them to go out and make a difference in the world, and how that making a difference will have the trickle down effect, and will touch so many other people. And so he sponsored a video contest called BIG, and BIG stands for Big Ideas for the Greater Good. And some of the ideas that these young people came up with, two girls created a wheel of kindness that they took to the park and had adults spin the wheel of kindness. And then the adults had to take action that was shown on the wheel. For instance, hug 3 strangers, or that sort of thing. And then they videotaped it, and they had this great premiere of the big videos. Another couple of boys used their money to take homeless women out to a really elegant restaurant for a meal. And then they videotaped these homeless women who were all really quite dressed up, and who were deeply moved by the generosity of these young boys. And so when we expect our youth to step into that role of generosity and philanthropic endeavors, we're setting a precedent for them. And that's something that they will never forget, and they will continue to take action. So Chris Rosati is creating, through what he calls the butterfly effect, opportunities for young people to make a difference in the world. So what are we doing here in this community? We're doing the precious bags. And that's one person at a time. But here's the thing. When we wrap our arms around humanity, what are we actually doing? We're acknowledging the God in them. And we're making eye contact with them. We're letting them know that they are precious, that someone does actually care about them. That's such an easy thing for us to do. Make eye contact. And anytime you're interacting with people. I had an interesting thing happen to me a couple of weeks ago. I've been going to a book club, women's book club, and it was only like twice that I had gone. And these are women that I don't know well, but I've sat and we talked about books. And I was sitting on a bench downtown across the street from the Sierra movie theater. The book club was going to be in someone's apartment, and the apartment was secured and locked, and the woman whose home it was going to come down the stairs and let us in. So I was sitting on a bench waiting for the time for her to come down and let us in. And another woman who was part of the book club, and I recognized her, walked by, and I said, "Hello, how are you?" she thought I was a homeless person. Now, I don't know,
I think you dress pretty classy.
well, you know, I have my jeans on and stuff. The point is that she didn't make eye contact with me. She didn't look at me. She just kept walking and said, oh, fine, thank you, like I was some kind of weird person. And that may or may not be the case. Some of you who speak in alphabet soup do believe that's true. The point is, though, she didn't, when we first met, she didn't actually meet me. And then when I ran across her on the street, she didn't look at me either. So when I talk about embracing and putting your arms around everyone, all of humanity, the simple matter is just let's make eye contact. Let's acknowledge each other as humans in this world and make eye contact. Doesn't matter whether I've met you or you've met me. It doesn't matter. We're all humans. And there's such a magic when we give these precious bags away. There is a magic there because we're acknowledging people. We're looking them in the eye. We're saying, hey, you're a human. I'm a human. That's something that we have in common. It's such a simple thing. The other thing that we can do, I love the Alchemist Theater's idea of having hugs in the park, and I understand that happened yesterday. I thought it was today. But just having hugs in the park, how cool is that? How was that for you?
Extremely uplifting. Not only were we out there hugging people who really needed a hug, but in turn we, the huggers, gained so much from the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it is a reciprocal universe. What we give out is what we get back. It's lovely. The other thing we can do is simple, and yet we're so bad at this, and that is to listen to people, to let them share their ideas with me, with you, with us. Listen. How many of us interrupt other people? How many of us are so anxious to correct other people and tell them how they're wrong and how they ought to think and, oh, no, that's not the way of it? That's rude, if nothing else. But it denies their humanity. It denies their connection with the divine. So such a simple thing. Listen. Without interrupting, without correcting, without giving an opinion. And surprisingly, we find ourselves in a position to acknowledge that there's more than one attitude, one idea, one truth, one light, one thought in this world. It's not an either-or world. It's not a black and white world. It is filled with nuances of ideas and thoughts. So embracing people in that simple way of allowing them without interruption to speak. If they want your opinion, I have found they will ask for it. It's not for me necessarily to volunteer it. I admit that sometimes I'm not really good at it, but I'm working on it. Sometimes I need to remind myself of what I say here. We can come to the place where we wrap our arms around all humanity and know and acknowledge that we are one. And so, from that deepest greeting, where the God in me acknowledges the God in you, I say to you, Namaste. So, I invite the practitioners to stand with me and hold the consciousness of this community. In this deep silence, I hear, feel, and know the breath of God that is breathing me. I know that as I breathe in, I'm exchanging the essence of all of the universe. I'm breathing in God and breathing out God. I allow myself to wrap my arms around all of humanity. I allow myself to see and know and acknowledge what I have in common with my fellow human, rather than what my differences are. I breathe in and I trust the universe to create the perfection that it already is, so that it's recognizable to me. So I can come to a place where I can say, aha, so that's the way. Aha, I see now the pattern of the presence and the way that God is at work and alive and enlivening all that is. I allow the circulation of spirit to wash clean anything that I have allowed to stagnate in my life. I celebrate the joy and the glory and the goodness of all humankind, no matter how I may mistakenly judged in the past. I acknowledge that I cannot afford to have an argument or a disagreement with anything or anyone. To do so is to diminish my understanding of who and what God is, and how that creative energy and that creative force is working within my life and the life of each one of us. calling us into balance, calling us into our heart space, calling us to love deeply, richly, and fully. So at this moment, I celebrate only good because that is all there is. And I invite you to do that with me by claiming it for yourself, by saying, and so it is.